Hi, and again, welcome to another weekly sort of review video. Again, I've changed up the format, still trying to figure out sort of how I want to do these, whether I want them to be based more on like avatar animation stuff, or if I want them to be more focused on actually in person on camera. I think I'm starting to get there. I've got this sort of area that I can use that I think works as like a nice set space almost to record these videos. So I guess all that's left really is to actually start. So just some quick things. So over the holidays, I had 2 weeks out of college for an Easter break, and I mostly spent that time sort of like trying to record some demos of stuff and doing other things that have sort of continued more onto this week. I didn't really want to put out a update video during those 2 weeks because I was in a different place, so I wasn't really able to record them as well, so I ended up not recording weekly videos for those, but I will sort of be going over quickly some of the stuff I did there and the general review stuff that is needed for those. Before then moving on to this week, what sort of things happened during this week and general sort of stuff that works that way through. So starting with the 2 weeks where I had a break for the Easter holidays, where there wasn't really much to do because I wasn't really able to do much being out of college. I'm fortunate enough to own sort of stuff that allows me to do sort of studio work at different places, and that's small enough to take with me. So I was able to record a very basic demo of my music track without any vocals that sort of just laid a kind of like groundwork for the overall style for it. So moving away from the more poppy sounding stuff that I had beforehand over to what I now have, which is more based in like sort of grungy, sort of almost grungy rocky with still some indie influences in it that I have now from using that demo, which really helped out. I was also supposed to do some extra research stuff, but during those 2 weeks I fell ill with a cold, so I sort of wasn't really feeling that up to focusing in on doing lots of sat down hard study sort of stuff. So I mostly just took it as kind of a time to relax a bit more, because it then means that I'm able to sort of relax, recenter, and then head off straight away for the next tasks. So after that, sort of those 2 weeks wrapped up, had like a nice time, was able to go over to my dad's, spent time there, and then sort of came back again ready for the college week to start. So for the college week, sort of missed out the first day because my cold caused me to have vertigo again, which is something that I've had, and that sort of came back up, so I had to wait till I had some medication that helped sort that out, but that's sort of now started to fade away, so I don't have to worry about that as much. So I'm able to start getting back into college. So on the Tuesday I went in, had my first lesson, which I sort of spent doing lots of research on how to record and amplify a cab. So when it comes to the final mixing and recording and mastering of the single that I'm working on, I want to be able to record the guitar parts through like classic ways that you'd use in sort of larger studio spaces if you had more money, which is to actually record the amplifier cab and the sound that comes out of that through a microphone, rather than just DIing straight to the interface and into your program, because for guitar it can give off a nicer or better sound depending on who you ask, and I really want to try doing it in a way that's sort of more authentic to how a lot of people back in like the 90s and 80s sort of recorded their music. Other than that, sort of then in the afternoon spent a lot of time working on the demo track, sort of coming up with the vocal line for it, so I was then able to, on the Wednesday at home, in my home studio, I was able to sort of sit down and then just record the vocal area. So I then had a demo which had vocals, of which then on the Thursday sort of went back into college and then was back in for that day for a half day, so in the morning session, and then was able to sort of sit down and just record all of that. So it did all the vocals and then also worked on some extra stuff and some balancing issues, some other stuff, so that I had a demo which, uploading with this video, I am probably going to put out to then have it be able to be looked over by different people, get sort of like survey results for it almost, and then have different people review it, give feedback, sort of set out some questions to ask people and then see what they have to say back in sort of a way that, looking forward into the final version of the song, I can then use that feedback from other people to sort of go over some ideas for what may work in terms of the overall sound. That's it. The mind broke and froze there for a second. So looking at the questions that I have to answer, the problems I faced was sort of having an idea for how I wanted it to sound, but not exactly knowing how to reach that end. So I sort of ended up spending a lot of time trying to figure out what sort of effects and what sort of stuff I needed to get the exact sound I needed. So that meant a lot of like fiddling around with the different sounds to figure out what exactly would make it sound the best. So that took up a fair amount of time in that sort of area. But then I was able to overcome that with like some help of some teachers, but then also some other research into sort of like creating the sound I wanted and looking at videos that sort of explain that, which I've sort of done research on, and actually looking back on that research to try and overall give off that sort of thing that I needed. So other than that, there weren't really many problems with it. It's more of like a mental game almost, I guess you could say, where it's trying to find sort of some of the motivation needed to actually put forward my mind to want to sit down and focus on doing large amounts of research at a time, rather than just doing all of the recording, which is more spontaneous and sort of like I can figure it out as I go along. So that's a problem, but then that just comes from certain other stuff, like finding it hard to focus and sit and just read through something for maybe an hour or 30 minutes at a time. So moving on from that, the next sort of area is what I'd like to achieve next week, which I'm hoping will be once I start getting some reviews of the demo track I have, sort of people giving their ideas and feedback on the song. I'm hoping that I'm then able to, from then, move into starting on working towards the final mix and mastering. We've got someone who's coming in to do the drumming on the Thursday next week, so I'll be able to get my final drumming track in, and I'm also hoping to be able to do my final recording of the guitar, figuring all those out. So I'll probably be spending Saturday and Sunday figuring out exactly how I want the guitars to sound, so that then when I go into the studio, whenever I get the chance to, or whenever my time slot is for studio time, that I'm able to just go in, record those parts through an amplifier, and then just sort of get the final major recordings finished. So that's sort of what I'm hoping to do, so that then the week after that I can start working on the music video to go along with the music track. But other than that, overall, that's sort of the basic plan at the moment, and that's sort of like basically this week and the next week covered. So it's sort of just keeping up the motivation to sort of continue on with this work and to just see it to the end, so that I'm then able to have a final piece that I'm proud of and that I'm able to work with. So that's sort of where the video is sort of ending. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I know that these videos are a bit more boring than some of the other stuff, but it could be interesting to other people who are thinking of doing a course in music and seeing sort of like some of the stuff that people do, sort of some of the things and like the processes that happen through it, and sort of stuff like this that you have to do as part of the course so that people can keep checking on you, seeing how you're doing through the weeks, that sort of area. But overall, that's sort of this weekly review. I hope that despite it being quite boring, that you enjoyed it, hopefully, and that in future I'm hopefully going to start recording more guitar stuff, some more covers and some things like that, so that I have a bit more variation in some of the stuff I'm uploading. Sort of try and do some of that as well, along with focus on like my Instagram and stuff like that, and actually trying to make sure that I start creating stuff to advertise sort of the upcoming track and single. So overall, that's sort of the video for today. I again hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, it would be nice if you were to like subscribe so that you can, if you're interested, continue to see sort of the process that myself and that some other college students in like a music course are doing for like modern music sort of stuff. And that I will see you on the next video, or next week when I do the next update, or when I choose to upload a random cover at some point. But all in all, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.